This is Annapolis Week on MarylandReporter.com. I'm Len Lazarick, and with me today is Senate Minority Whip E.J. Pipkin, who represents the Upper Shore. Senator Pipkin also serves on the Senate Finance Committee, which has been dealing a lot with the Governor O'Malley's wind farm bill. Thanks for being with us today.
Glad to be here.
You've had a lot of problems with this wind farm bill. Could you detail some of the issues that you've raised in hearings and work sessions on this?
Well, first of all, it's a $4.5 billion tax over the 25-year life of what's expected to be the long-term contracts. So when we start any kind of project and we look what they're going to additionally cost, $4.5 billion is what the Public Service Commission at one point determined. Now, advocates would argue that's not exactly the right number. I don't know, cut it in half. It's still a multi-billion dollar in additional tax. From what we can determine after the hearings, this energy from the wind power costs anywhere from 60 to 200% more than what conventional power costs today. And also, look, no one's going to argue that we want to see more alternate energy sources besides fossil fuel. But the flip side of that is at what cost and who's benefiting from them. At this point, this project's got a couple of really bad things about it. Number one, extremely expensive to build, extremely expensive from the standpoint of the ratepayers to pay for. And on top of it, only a very narrow group of developers are going to be able to get the real benefits of this. And so I have problems with something that is so narrowly focused that costs so much money.
Is there any way that the governor can retrieve this somehow?
I mean, look, anything's possible in Annapolis. As I start my 9th year, I'm not surprised by anything. But having said that, this is extremely costly to consumers. It's hard to get away from that. Anytime you start, any amendments that he would try to do to fix the bill raises the issues.
And the utilities object to the fact they would have to sign long-term contracts to buy this energy, which is more expensive.
Right. Who in the world would commit to purchasing 25-year contracts for power? And that's another part of the problem of the bill. This is the kind of stuff that happened in California. They got California in trouble several years ago, where you have long-term, expensive contracts, and the devil's in the details on these contracts. And who wouldn't want the deal the developers are going to get? The consumer's going to pay for the capital expenses. They're going to pay for the maintenance expenses. They're going to pay for the distribution expenses, but friendly people to the governor are going to end up with the profits, and there's something wrong with that.
If you say you support renewable energy, what would be a good alternative to this?
Well, I think again, the idea is what's the devil in the detail. I mean, this is an aggressive project, 120 plus windmills off the coast of Ocean City. The idea to be 600 megawatts of power. These are huge projects. We're not starting little and learning. What we would expect and what we've learned in this whole alternate energy process is that you start out small and then work your way to larger things. The other thing is that none of these alternate fuels clear the marketplace. In other words, no one's come up with something that the marketplace wants. This is government mandated contracts that guarantee a profit for the developers, and the flip side of that is we pay extremely high costs for this energy. That's a bad model. So when you say what alternate energies we should use, we shouldn't have government coming in and forcing such expensive power on consumers.
Speaking of things that the governor has supported, you have been a strong opponent of his proposal on septic systems on the Eastern Shore. Does the governor have something against rural Maryland?
I believe that he's launched a war on rural Maryland, and Delegate Spiegel and myself have launched a website, www.waronruralmaryland, Maryland, to put all the highlights of all the press accounts of how this governor has in effect launched a war on rural Maryland and this septic proposal, which basically robs our rural counties in the state and the children and grandchildren of those who live there today of the chance of economic opportunity, would bring economic development to a halt. It centralizes control here in Annapolis to the development process and takes away private property rights for all who live in the rural areas.
Why would the governor want to have a war on rural?
At the end of the day, I have had a number of conversations with him. I'm not sure he understands the policies that he's trying to imply. The governor has a very much of a top-down model in that he and his administration, the secretaries, on a day-in, day-out basis, continue to tell those of us who live in the rural parts of the state that they know better than we know. And the fact of the matter is they haven't put the time and energy in to be able to learn just what goes on in these rural areas. Because when we leave Annapolis in 2 weeks, the idea here is that we're going to spend a lot of time, I spent a lot of my personal time, talking on growth issues. He didn't seek our input. He then just came out and said he wanted a septic ban. It's devastating to property values. It doesn't really help the Bay all that much. We already have policies that are in place that are working to improve the septic situation. If he had been aware of what we're currently doing, then he wouldn't have even proposed this, in my opinion.
Thanks for being with us, EJ, and thanks for watching Annapolis Week on MarylandReporter.com.